Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The film's been out for about a week, so chances are you saw it already. But if not, then just to let you know, I might have some minor spoilers. I don't know, we'll see. But lots of people want to know what I thought, so it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's probably the most hyped franchise I can think of besides Star Wars, and it's been 19 years since the last Indiana Jones flick, so naturally there's a lot of high expectations, and I think that's the problem with this movie. If you're expecting it to blow you away the same way that the first three did back in the 80s, then you're going to be disappointed. If you're in the mood to just be entertained, then you'll be entertained. But if you want to nitpick it to death, then there's plenty of things to nitpick. See, it satisfies both. You can love it or just love to hate it. It works both ways. A lot of people have complained about the use of CGI. Now, believe me, I'll be the first to say that I hate CGI. I think it's a great tool, but way too often it's abused. It's a synthetic alternative to genuine organic special effects, and it's a lazy way out. But this particular movie doesn't have any more CG than most other movies today, so this one didn't really bother me. Most of the time the CG was used pretty fair. I can't see any other way they could have had a bunch of ants crawling into someone's mouth. The alien, on the other hand, well, it wasn't on screen for very long, but if you look back at something like E.T., then you'll just ask yourself why. Bottom line, if you're expecting an action film made in the year 2008 by Spielberg and Lucas to not have any CGI, then you're being incredibly optimistic. There's also been a lot of complaints about the movie being silly. Now, I agree there were some gags which were pretty dumb, like the quicksand scene with the snake, but overall it was nowhere near as ridiculous as Temple of Doom. I don't even think I need to give any examples. Just watch Temple of Doom, you'll know exactly what I mean. And don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. The last half hour of Temple of Doom is amazing, but overall it's way more goofy than Crystal Skull. You have to remember, the Indiana Jones series was based off the adventure serials of the 1930s and 40s. It's just a glorified B-movie, a bunch of action scenes just strung together with a historical backdrop. If you take it too seriously, then you're missing the whole point. Of course, there were minor things that bothered me. After he meets Mutt Williams, the plot becomes heavy and it starts to drag. The triple agent ordeal was absurd. And at the beginning, why are the teenagers racing out in the desert near Area 51? Do we need to hear Hound Dog to remind us that it's the 50s? Indy takes it pretty well to find out that Mutt is his son, and how does he just bury the hatchet with Marion and marry her? Also, if the 13 skulls are all inhuman alien-shaped heads, then what about the Mitchell Hedges skull? Is that just completely unrelated? But when all's said and done, you can either nitpick individual moments or just look at the big picture. One thing I can say, it seems Spielberg and Lucas genuinely had a good time with this movie. They took elements from their earlier works like American Graffiti, Close Encounters, and just threw them all together into one big picture. I like how the opening shot really downplays the franchise. Usually the Paramount logo fades into a mountaintop, but here, what you think is a mountaintop is really just a little mound dug by a prairie dog or whatever it was. It's a beautiful looking film. The cemetery scene, the waterfall, Indiana Jones silhouetted against a mushroom cloud. These are all images that are still lingering in my mind as I tell you about this. It almost looks too perfect, that it doesn't have the same grit as the first three. But that was the 80s and this is the 2000s. Or should I say that was the 30s and this was the 50s. Hey, I kind of like that. How there's like a gap between the movies. You actually feel the time span in which they took place. And that's fine that this one looks more modern and polished. It's not like in Star Wars how episodes 4, 5, and 6 are all puppets and animatronics, and then 1, 2, and 3 are like a CGI acid trip. If anything, it should be the other way around. But oh well, that's all I have to say. Overall, it's a fun movie. It reminds you of the reasons why the action genre exists. To throw reality out the window, just sit back and enjoy. It's not as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark or Last Crusade, but I think it's better than Temple of Doom. But that's only for the quality of the movie itself, not for the nostalgia factor. And that's what Crystal Skull cannot deliver. It was a treat to see a new Indiana Jones movie on the big screen, but it's never going to have the same impact as the trilogy. So I give it 3 fedoras out of 5. It was good, but in the next 20 years, I don't think I'll look back at Crystal Skull with the same admiration as the first 3. The trilogy is done, it's set in stone, just like one of Indy's lost artifacts. There could never be another one that would live up to everyone's expectations. So stop reaching for it, like Indy's father says to him in Last Crusade. Let it go.